Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Monday Motivation. I'm your host, Daniel Krakowski, joined, as always, by...
What's up?
Goran.
I think I just blew the mic. Sorry, Micah. If you're editing this, hopefully you did not have like some high-intensity speakers or headphones.
We call him Goran Kwame Vazovic.
Kwame.
And we call him Kwame because if you saw him dressed today in this sweater, you'd know he's GQ.
I am GQ,
Hey there.
but I did not anticipate the temperatures to be this hot. It's like 70, but it was like 50. So I'm hoping for the dip in temperature so I can get my suit jacket on and got my sweater on. I'm layering today.
He's ready to go.
I'm layering. What did I say? I call it was like a blue collar chic.
You did, yes. Yep,
Okay.
exactly. He looks like a
Oh, and Daniel made me dress for the sole purpose of meeting someone else.
We'll get into that. We'll get to that.
Not as dressed or even dressed at all.
Yeah, we
Well,
were like...
no, wait. They had clothes on.
Yesterday, Goran was wearing I think you're issued a tracksuit at birth when you're in Bosnia, one for every year
I
of your
had
age.
jeans on, Under Armour shirt, and Adidas sneakers.
Regardless.
And you were like, hey, can we switch out of that breakdancer routine and get into something more professional? And here we are at a meeting. No one's dressed professional except me and Daniel.
Yes, but the intended effect was had, so nonetheless. But let's move past that for a second. Get to our guest today. Today we're joined by Iryna Starks.
Hello, everyone.
What is happening?
Well, I'm an accountant with VSM, and today has been a busy day. The accountant.
Oh,
main one.
Finance manager.
She
yes.
also enjoys playing Wii and ping pong with Carol.
Yes.
She's also going to make almond horns with dark chocolate over the weekend with Carol and bring it in to the office.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
going on.
And there's some spreadsheets going on in there as well.
Yes, and Carol is my assistant. We work in one team. We do a lot of finance work throughout the day.
This is not verifiable, folks. We're taking this at her word. No one's checking it. I mean, they could be, who knows, playing games online.
Right. It's the first time I'm here, and actually, it's really nice to talk with you guys.
Oh, let's get
we're glad you're here.
Come on, Daniel, can I get a clap? Micah, we need some claps.
Yeah, fill that in.
Yeah, fill it in.
So, I'm super glad you're here. A lot of the issues that we deal with as a company, if it's coming from the owner side, because obviously the tenants have their own batch of problems
Yes.
that the operations team tends to handle the brunt force of. But a lot of it has to do with, when is my payment coming through? There are always going to be financial questions that people are going to have. And it kind of ties into what Goran was alluding to earlier and why he got so dressed up and put on his big boy clothes today.
I'm not even dressed up. It's kind of insulting because I have more dressy stuff, but now I feel like I've been dressing like a slob this whole time.
But you do look dressed up because we saw you in a jacket there with Carol. We both said, Goran looked so dressed up today.
I think it's the haircut.
Oh.
It's partially, yes. But anyway, so... lots of issues arise just in the day-to-day, just like they do in any business. And what I've come to realize, and I'm sure you can hopefully, share some fun stories with, is times when just having that open communication, and instead of doing kind of the short, easy, fast way to handle a response to somebody, which is just fire off an email, you take the time, call them up on the phone, meet with them in person, and really hash out and talk through the issue. Because I think usually when you do that, you find that there's actually some common ground and there's a good explanation for what's going on. So have you ever had anything like that happen?
Yes, many times, especially communicating with owners mostly, because I don't communicate with tenants that much, but owners definitely, because everything that I do, finance part of it, is very owner related. There has been cases when owners been very upset for our situation, and whenever they call, somehow eventually I'm the last person they get on the phone with because they don't get the satisfactory answer they want, and I take it over and I talk to them. And it's so surprising how when you talk to them on the phone, it's like a different picture. When they just hear this voice, maybe it's just calming to them sometimes because I basically tell them the same information that anyone else tells. But when you kind of chew it up for them and you sympathetically explain and try to help, at the end of the conversation, they're just so much more sure and calm about it, and they just understand better, I feel like, because it's like a personal, they just hear the voice, they feel that you know that their money in the good hands and that everything is handled well, but they hear it from you in this confident voice, and they just feel like, oh, everything is okay, I wasn't sure why I was worried, and now I understand it better. There's been situations when owners would just call directly to my cell phone. I don't really know. I'll just avoid the part, how did they get my cell phone? But when they call, one owner called and he said, I'm so sorry, I screwed up. I just sent you money from my IRA account and I shouldn't be in because it's my retirement funds. Can you send it back to me? And they just so openly talk about it. And I was like, okay, sure, no problem. And they would be like, so thank you so much. They're just so glad that they can openly say, I screwed up, please help me. And it's understandable, but I think they're glad that they can do this, like directly call somebody and be like, please fix it to me right now, and you can do it. And they're like, oh, thank you so much, that I don't have to wait for it another month or something, because it's important for them. So, and
on the other hand too, we don't do it often, but when we do make a mistake, people appreciate that you took the time to call. Yeah, that you took the time to call them and explain and take responsibility for it. And I find that probably like you, problems don't really get to me until they've escalated up to a point where, someone else is required to come in. But usually, I'm always surprised at the number of times where people are like, this person's very upset. It's a very crazy situation. You're going to have a very difficult phone conversation.
Yes.
And 30 seconds in, they're so nice, so thankful. It's super easy. And just because, you're speaking from, you understand the problem, and you're going to take responsibility for it and make it better.
Yep. I had it a lot of times when I take the phone and I think they're not really that upset, or maybe they just wanted to talk to me. I don't know which one was it, but in the end they are really happy. They just get off the phone and they're like,
it's your fans. They found your cell phone number and they're just trying to talk with you. Exactly.
I also think people don't expect that, this is one of the a foundation of our business is really to get to issues as quickly as possible, address them. Obviously, questions, concerns to be handled, immediately, and we take that to heart. You mentioned people have my cell phone. I have my cell phone on the website. My phone doesn't ring off the hook. Usually, people, if they really want to get a hold of somebody, they can within our organization, and when they do, they're kind of surprised, like, wow, I didn't have to go through this ridiculous call tree. I didn't have to wait for 24 hours to get a call back or email back. So when you're upset and you're like, I'm expecting to leave a message, and all of a sudden Iryna's like, hey, how can I help you to resolve this issue right away? They're like, whoa. And the thing gets handled ASAP, which that's the most important part for us. We know mistakes are going to be made. We know there's going to be, things that get missed. But for us to be there present as quickly as we are, that's what sets us apart.
Yeah, I think being approachable is a big key of our good customer service we provide that probably a lot of companies do because you have to get through the hoops to get a hold of anyone.
Right. So keeping on kind of on the topic of clear communication.
Yeah, Gordon and I have a fun story. We'll tell you, and we can get your input on it. So,
yes.
We have a building under contract, and we have essentially it's a commercial building. We won't get into too many details because it's still ongoing, but we have it under contract to buy it, and to make it work for our use, we need to get it rezoned by a certain city in our area here. So reaching out to the city planners and everyone on the municipal level to try and get it approved, their response is, no, we're not interested, and we're not interested in continuing this conversation, which to us seemed crazy because this building had sat vacant for a long time.
Yeah, we saw only one side of the story.
Right, and that was ours. And didn't have all the information, and they didn't have all the information from our perspective either, and we weren't able to very effectively communicate. So, I went down to the city and gave a speech during their open forum, and
which can be seen online.
You can check it out.
We'll
link that later, maybe depending on what goes on.
Yeah, right. I'll have a link for Micah to set this up after.
But regardless, so we went down there, and again, that was just one person telling one side of the story, and the city council seemed to be on board and approving what I was putting out there. Well, long story short, we met with the planners who had initially rejected our proposal, and very quickly they shared some important facts, like the fact that this property may or may not already be under contract with somebody else who has a proposal that the city wants to approve because they're going to invest an additional probably, I mean, $2.5 million.
It was a more lucrative proposal, and it was what was in the best interest of the community and the city, which is fine. But
without a doubt, it was a better proposal for the city.
Right. But another tidbit that was dropped on us.
Go. You
go ahead.
I want to know what you think. Go.
No, well, okay, so this was my first, I guess, heavy interaction where, Daniel, you kind of took the lead on this entire deal. But I went with you to talk to the city. They're like, so you don't represent this person that's selling the property? And both Daniel and I looked at each other. We're like, what? We're like, no, we don't actually represent the seller. We're representing ourselves in order to purchase this property, and the seller is representing themselves. So immediately the city was like, mind blown.
It completely changed their entire outlook. It completely changed our entire outlook. So both of us looked at each other with fresh perspectives. I've been trying to set a meeting with them for 2 weeks, and they didn't want to meet with me because they thought that I was an agent of this person who they didn't want to do business with. And I was frustrated because I didn't know their side of the story. So as soon as we figured that out, we were shaking hands. They're proposing additional. They're like, hey, we're going to send you these other vacant buildings that we have. We'd love
all
to work
these other
else.
opportunities opened up that at first we thought it was going to be kind of like a combat situation, war of words, but then as soon as we figure out what was happening, we're like, hey, let's...
It was common sense, and we made determination. I guess I kind of
Daniel was like, hey, it's okay, we'll bow out. They're like, oh, no, maybe you don't have to, maybe there's some other opportunities, we want to work with you. We're like, whoa.
Wow.
So it was very unexpected, and it was because...
In my defense, I did not say we'd bow out, and they volunteered it. I said, we would bow out, but if that happened, well, could we do this?
Right.
Because I'm not going to leave it that way. So any clients listening, I would not give up that quick.
What a clear communication does.
Yeah, so it was night and day, and now I'm really excited to work with this municipality. The two guys that we met with, who were, people that we were looking at as, just obstacles, are actually really, civic-minded and just making common sense proposals.
Make the community better.
So it is perfect.
Fantastic.
Wow, nice.
So from my experience and kind of what I try to go on, on a daily basis is having clear, concise communication, and always imagine kind of the telephone game when you tell one thing to the person next to you, and then this whole chain of events happens, and the last person says a completely different thing. So when I have a problem or situation, I think about this. I'm like, okay, how many people or obstacles are between me and the end user who needs to get the clearest picture? And I try to see, okay, do I need to meet them? Do I need to send a direct email? Do I need to make a phone call? I don't want to leave it to someone else, especially if I think something's going to go amiss, which often it does. And just like in the game of telephone, that's what happens.
Yep.
How many times do you finish the game and the last person says exactly what the first person said?
Not often.
Not often.
But so another point to take away from it then, and this is kind of the meta next, like maybe a little headier idea and more philosophical, but so we got new information from the city, but there's still another party involved. And if we just take the information that we have from our previous interactions with him, and we just take the information that the city provided in our interactions with the city, we need to then take this information that we have and bring it to this other third party. Because, again, this person's going to have another perspective too. And then I think realistically what you want to do is take both sides of a story in a situation like this where there's conflicting accounts, find out where they match up, find out what's different, and then on what's different, try and figure out and understand and empathize with why they would have a different viewpoint on it. And there you can kind of find some truth. And it's usually somewhere in the middle, but there's typically whoever benefits the most is from the perspective being one way is usually, in my opinion, tends to be more likely to be the one manufacturing so something additional on top of it. So our responsibility is now to follow up, make sure everyone has the same information, and then hopefully we can put a deal together.
Right. So going back to the communication, when it comes to, having effective and clear communication for you, Iryna, especially having to be in the finance world where you're communicating with what happened and then coupling that with actual numbers and figures, what are some of the best practices that you use on a daily basis that our listeners could benefit from?
The top 3 countdown.
Top three.
Well, I guess
Number 3.
First of all, I guess that not every person, people have different styles of understanding and learning. And some people, for example, when I speak to owners or just anyone, I can explain to them 3 times and they'll be like, draw it for me. And if I draw it for them, they understand it like in the first half second, right? So some people are visual and they'll understand it better even if you draw it, no matter how many times you explain it to them. Other people just need to feels like talk to you, not email, but hear your voice, be it in person or by phone.
Yep.
Because that something about just being able to hear a person's voice and tone of voice and how you handle situations, something that makes it clearer and more feasible, I guess, for them, more understanding. And some people just, they are okay with having 50 emails and they will never get on the phone with you. They'll just keep typing and texting until they get to the picture. And it could still be miscommunication for a while, but in the end of it, I'll try to just kind of get to the point, to the root, rather than being ineffective, because at that point I understand that I'm not sure it will get anywhere. So you just kind of try to minimize it and get down to it, because that's when the kind of like the fixing problem comes, because it eats a lot of time. Because at the end of it all, the people, like if there is a miscommunication, is usually something that either got missed, or people might be upset because it's usually something beyond, not them, it's the problem that they don't understand. And to get to that is something that, like, beyond the, closing your eyes that they are upset, and just that, what is the problem, what is really going on. And then after that is when the emotions go, okay, I understand, everything is fine, and they calm down. But that's kind of, I guess, my experience with, because it's mostly finance and people are upset with something that...
No, I think it's good. And what you're touching on is basically not everyone learns at the same pace or in the same mode. So some people are very visual. Some people like things to be explained to them in person. Some like to read. So I think in a very, what may seem to be, to me, as a clear line of communication, it may not be for you or Daniel.
Right.
So understanding how someone would like to communicate is step one.
Right.
So what is their best mode of communication? And that could be just an email. A lot of people don't want to talk on the phone because they want everything in an email that they can revert back
on
to.
demand, too.
Right. So understanding that is huge and it's key. And I hope everybody uses that, because not everybody is going to be wanting to talk on the phone. I have a lot of people that tell me, like, oh, just pick up the phone and call me. And I'm like, well, I'd rather just do this over the email because that's the preferred way for me to communicate this particular deal. I want to make sure it's in writing.
Yep.
Yeah. Every morning I show up and I'm like, Goran, what's up, man? He's like, email me.
Right. Email is the preferred, then probably the phone call goes next. And then if something still is obviously miscommunication, then I ask people, then the third option kicks into my mind. I think, would it be helpful to send you the report? And they see it and they're like, oh, sure. And after I send it, it's right away. It's like, oh, that makes sense, because, and I understand, okay, they are visual learners, it doesn't matter how many times I tell it to them. If you show it to them, they see it, they understand it.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here, Iryna. Goran, always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. You'll be back,
Yes,
Iryna?
I will.
And in the meantime, your cell phone number for everybody? No, seriously, guys. Just work on the communication. If you're ever having an issue with VSM, give us a call. We're more than happy to talk to you about it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.